Welcome to this in-depth exploration of the book, Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities. Lebanon, a small country located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, has been at the center of numerous conflicts and power struggles that have shaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East for decades. This book offers a fascinating and eye-opening look at the complex history and dynamics of Lebanon, and how its unique position has influenced the region as a whole. To fully understand Lebanon's role in the Middle East, we must first delve into its rich and complex history. The land that is now Lebanon has been inhabited since prehistoric times, with evidence of human settlement dating back to the Paleolithic era. Throughout antiquity, the region was ruled by a succession of empires, including the Phoenicians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, and Ottomans. Under the Ottoman Empire, which ruled Lebanon from the 16th century until the end of World War I, the country enjoyed a degree of autonomy. The Ottomans recognized the unique religious diversity of Lebanon, particularly the significant presence of Maronite Christians and Druze, and allowed these communities to maintain their own traditions and political structures. The fall of the Ottoman Empire after World War I marked a significant turning point in Lebanon's history. In 1920, the League of Nations granted France a mandate over Lebanon and Syria, which had previously been part of the Ottoman Empire. The French Mandate period, which lasted from 1920 to 1943, had a profound impact on Lebanon's political, social, and economic development. During this time, the French authorities established Lebanon's confessional political system, which allocated power and resources based on the relative size of each religious community. This system aimed to maintain a delicate balance between the country's main religious groups, including Maronite Christians, Sunni Muslims, Shia Muslims, and Druze. However, it also sowed the seeds of future sectarian tensions and political paralysis. Lebanon gained its independence from France in 1943, but the country's early years were marked by numerous challenges. One of the most significant issues was the influx of Palestinian refugees following the Arab-Israeli War of 1948 and the subsequent conflicts. The presence of large numbers of Palestinians in Lebanon, particularly in the south of the country, would have far-reaching consequences for Lebanon's stability and security. The rise of Arab nationalism in the 1950s and 1960s also had a significant impact on Lebanon. The country's unique religious diversity and its close ties to the West made it an outlier in a region swept up in the fervor of Arab unity and anti-colonial sentiment. This period saw the emergence of political movements and parties that sought to challenge the confessional system and promote a more secular and nationalist vision for Lebanon. As we move into the next part of our exploration of Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we will delve into the outbreak of the Lebanese Civil War in 1975 and how this devastating conflict shaped the country and the region for decades to come. The Civil War, which lasted for 15 years and claimed the lives of over 100,000 people, was a turning point in Lebanon's history and a stark reminder of the fragility of its social and political fabric. Through the pages of this book, we will explore the complex web of factors that led to the Civil War, the role of regional and international actors in the conflict, and the profound impact it had on Lebanon and the Middle East as a whole. We will also examine the aftermath of the war and the challenges Lebanon has faced in its quest for stability, reconciliation, and prosperity. So, join me on this journey as we unravel the fascinating and often tragic story of Lebanon, a country that has endured so much and yet remains a vital piece in the puzzle of the Middle East. By understanding Lebanon's past and present, we can gain valuable insights into the region's complex dynamics and the prospects for a more peaceful and stable future. The Lebanese Civil War, which began in 1975 and lasted until 1990, was a defining moment in Lebanon's history and a turning point in the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. The war was a complex and multifaceted conflict, involving a wide range of domestic and foreign actors, each with its own interests and agendas. The roots of the Civil War can be traced back to the underlying sectarian tensions and political inequalities that had plagued Lebanon since its independence. The confessional system, which allocated power based on religious affiliation, had created a fragile balance that was increasingly strained by demographic changes, economic disparities, and external pressures. The spark that ignited the Civil War was a series of violent incidents in Beirut on April 13, 1975. Gunmen opened fire on a church in the Christian-dominated neighborhood of Ain el-Romaneh, killing 4 people and wounding many others. This attack, which was seen as a response to an earlier shooting of Palestinian refugees, triggered a series of retaliatory attacks and clashes between Christian and Muslim militias. As the violence escalated, the main parties to the conflict began to emerge. On one side were the Maronite Christians, led by the Qadi party, also known as the Phalange, and its military wing, the Lebanese forces. The Maronites, who had long enjoyed a privileged position in Lebanese society, sought to maintain their political and economic dominance in the face of growing challenges from other communities. On the other side was the Lebanese National Movement (LNM), a coalition of leftist and Muslim parties that advocated for political and social reforms, including the abolition of the confessional system and a more equitable distribution of power and resources. The LNM was supported by the Palestine Liberation Organization (PLO), which had established a significant presence in Lebanon after being expelled from Jordan in 1971. As the Civil War progressed, the conflict became increasingly complex and internationalized. Neighboring countries, particularly Syria and Israel, began to intervene in the war to protect their own interests and to support their allies on the ground. In 1976, Syria sent troops into Lebanon to support the Maronite-led government against the LNM and Palestinian forces. The Syrian intervention, which was initially welcomed by some Lebanese factions, soon became a source of controversy and resentment, as the Syrian military presence in Lebanon would continue for nearly 3 decades. Israel, which had been battling Palestinian militants in southern Lebanon since the early 1970s, also became increasingly involved in the civil war. In 1978, Israel launched Operation Litani, a military offensive aimed at pushing the PLO away from the Israeli border and establishing a security zone in southern Lebanon. The operation, which lasted 7 days, resulted in the deaths of over 1,000 Lebanese and Palestinians and the displacement of nearly 200,000 people. In 1982, Israel launched a full-scale invasion of Lebanon, known as Operation Peace for Galilee, with a stated goal of eliminating the PLO's presence in the country. The Israeli Defense Forces IDF quickly advanced towards Beirut, where they laid siege to the city and engaged in heavy fighting with Palestinian and Lebanese militias. The Israeli invasion and occupation of Beirut had a profound impact on the course of the Civil War. In August 1982, under international pressure, the PLO was forced to evacuate the city and relocate its leadership to Tunisia. However, the withdrawal of the PLO did not bring an end to the violence in Lebanon. In September 1982, the Maronite-led Lebanese forces, with the support of the Israeli military, entered the Palestinian refugee camps of Sabra and Shatila in West Beirut. Over the course of 3 days, the Lebanese forces massacred hundreds of Palestinian civilians, including women and children, while the Israeli forces turned a blind eye. The Sabra and Shatila massacre, which shocked the international community and led to the resignation of Israeli Defense Minister Ariel Sharon, remains one of the darkest chapters in the history of the Lebanese Civil War. As the war continued throughout the 1980s, new actors and alliances emerged that would shape the future of Lebanon and the region. One of the most significant developments was the rise of Hezbollah, a Shia Islamist political party and militant group that was formed in response to the Israeli invasion and occupation of southern Lebanon. Hezbollah, which received significant support from Iran and Syria, became a formidable force in the Civil War, engaging in guerrilla warfare against the Israeli military and carrying out attacks on Western targets, such as the 1983 Beirut barracks bombings that killed 241 American and 58 French peacekeepers. The Lebanese Civil War finally came to an end in 1990 with the signing of the Taif Agreement, which restructured the Lebanese political system and provided for the disarmament of militias. However, the war left a lasting legacy of destruction, trauma, and sectarian division that continues to shape Lebanon to this day. In the next part of our exploration of Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we will delve into the aftermath of the Civil War and the challenges Lebanon has faced in its quest for stability, reconciliation, and prosperity. We will examine the role of regional and international actors in the post-war period, the rise of Hezbollah as a dominant political and military force, and the ongoing struggles of the Lebanese people to build a better future for their country. The end of the Lebanese Civil War in 1990 marked a new chapter in Lebanon's history. But the country's struggles were far from over. The Taif Agreement, which brought an end to the fighting, aimed to reform Lebanon's political system and provide a framework for national reconciliation. However, the agreement also enshrined the confessional system, perpetuating the same sectarian divisions that had fueled the Civil War. In the immediate aftermath of the war, Lebanon faced the daunting task of rebuilding its shattered infrastructure and economy. The country had suffered massive destruction, with an estimated 150,000 people killed, 300,000 wounded, and nearly 1 million displaced. The war had also taken a heavy toll on Lebanon's once thriving economy, with the country's GDP falling by nearly 50% during the conflict. As Lebanon began the process of reconstruction, it also had to grapple with the continued presence of foreign forces on its soil. The Syrian military, which had intervened in the Civil War in 1976, maintained a significant presence in Lebanon throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. The Syrian occupation, which was initially seen by some as a stabilizing force, became increasingly unpopular among the Lebanese population, who viewed it as an infringement on their sovereignty and a hindrance to political reform. Israel, which had invaded Lebanon in 1982 and established a security zone in the south of the country, also remained a major player in the post-war period. The Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon, which lasted until 2000, was a source of ongoing tension and conflict, as Hezbollah and other Lebanese resistance groups waged a guerrilla campaign against the Israeli forces. The rise of Hezbollah in the post-war era was one of the most significant developments in Lebanon and the wider region. Founded in the early 1980s as a response to the Israeli invasion, Hezbollah emerged as a powerful political and military force in the 1990s, thanks in part to its close ties to Iran and Syria. Hezbollah's popularity among Lebanon's Shia population, who had long been marginalized and underrepresented in the country's political system, was a key factor in its growth and success. The group's provision of social services, such as healthcare and education, in Shia-dominated areas of Lebanon, as well as its military victories against Israel, helped to cement its status as a defender of the Shia community and a resistance movement against foreign occupation. However, Hezbollah's dual role as a political party and an armed militia has also been a source of controversy and tension in Lebanon. The group's refusal to disarm after the end of the Civil War, as stipulated by the Taif Agreement, and its continued military activities in southern Lebanon and beyond, have raised concerns about the stability and sovereignty of the Lebanese state. The 2000s saw a series of significant developments that would further shape Lebanon's political landscape and its relationship with the wider region. In 2005, former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri was assassinated in a massive car bomb attack in Beirut. The assassination, which was widely blamed on Syria and its Lebanese allies, sparked a wave of protests and international pressure that ultimately led to the withdrawal of Syrian troops from Lebanon after nearly 30 years of occupation. The withdrawal of Syrian forces, which was a major victory for Lebanon's sovereignty and independence, also had unintended consequences. The absence of the Syrian military, which had played a key role in maintaining stability and suppressing sectarian tensions, created a power vacuum that would be filled by competing Lebanese factions and their regional allies. In 2006, tensions between Israel and Hezbollah escalated into a full-scale war, known as the July War or the 26th Lebanon War. The conflict, which lasted 34 days and resulted in the deaths of over 1,000 Lebanese civilians and significant damage to the country's infrastructure, was a reminder of Lebanon's ongoing vulnerability to regional conflicts and the destabilizing impact of non-state actors like Hezbollah. The post-war period in Lebanon has been marked by ongoing political instability, economic challenges, and sectarian tensions. The country's confessional system, which allocates political power based on religious affiliation, has continued to hinder effective governance and reform, while corruption and nepotism remain endemic problems. Despite these challenges, Lebanon has also shown remarkable resilience and a vibrant civil society that has pushed for change and accountability. The 2019 Lebanese protests, which brought together Lebanese from all walks of life and religious backgrounds, were a powerful demonstration of the population's desire for a more just, transparent, and effective political system. As we move into the final part of our exploration of Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we will examine Lebanon's role in the broader regional context and the impact of recent developments, such as the Syrian Civil War and the growing tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia, on the country's stability and future prospects. We will also consider the lessons that can be drawn from Lebanon's experience and the steps that need to be taken to build a more peaceful, prosperous, and inclusive future for all Lebanese. Lebanon's unique position at the crossroads of the Middle East has long made it a battleground for regional and international powers seeking to advance their interests and agendas. The country's complex sectarian makeup, its strategic location on the Mediterranean Sea, and its history of political instability have all contributed to its vulnerability to external interference and conflict. In recent years, Lebanon has been increasingly drawn into the broader regional struggles that have reshaped the Middle East. The outbreak of the Syrian Civil War in 2011 has had a particularly profound impact on Lebanon, given the close historical, political, and social ties between the two countries. As the conflict in Syria escalated, Lebanon found itself on the front lines of the crisis, with over 1.5 million Syrian refugees seeking shelter in the country. The influx of refugees, which has strained Lebanon's already fragile infrastructure and economy, has also exacerbated sectarian tensions and political divisions within the country. Hezbollah's intervention in the Syrian civil war on behalf of the Assad regime has further complicated Lebanon's position in the region. The group's military support for the Syrian government has drawn Lebanon deeper into the conflict and has raised concerns about the spillover of violence and instability across the border. The Syrian civil war has also become a proxy battleground for the wider regional rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Lebanon, with its diverse religious and political makeup, has long been a theater for this competition, with both countries seeking to extend their influence and support their local allies. The growing tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which have escalated in recent years, have had a destabilizing effect on Lebanon. The two regional powers have backed opposing sides in Lebanon's political disputes, with Iran supporting Hezbollah and its allies, while Saudi Arabia has aligned itself with the country's Sunni-led political bloc. The political deadlock and economic crisis that have gripped Lebanon in recent years are, in part, a reflection of these broader regional dynamics. The country's inability to form a stable and effective government, its mounting public debt, and its crumbling infrastructure are all symptoms of a deeper malaise that is rooted in Lebanon's sectarian divisions and its vulnerability to external pressures. Despite these challenges, there are also reasons for hope and optimism about Lebanon's future. The country's vibrant civil society, its rich cultural heritage, and its entrepreneurial spirit have all been sources of resilience and creativity in the face of adversity. The 2019 Lebanese protests, which brought together Lebanese from all walks of life and religious backgrounds, were a powerful demonstration of the population's desire for change and their willingness to transcend sectarian divisions in pursuit of a common cause. The protests, which were triggered by economic grievances and frustration with the political elite, have opened up new spaces for dialogue and activism, and have challenged the status quo in unprecedented ways. However, the road ahead for Lebanon is not an easy one. The country will need to undertake significant reforms to its political and economic systems, rooting out corruption, promoting transparency and accountability, and creating opportunities for all Lebanese, regardless of their religious or political affiliations. Lebanon will also need to navigate its relationship with the wider region and the international community in a way that safeguards its sovereignty and independence while promoting stability and cooperation. This will require a delicate balancing act, as Lebanon seeks to maintain good relations with its neighbors and allies, while also asserting its own interests and values. Ultimately, the future of Lebanon will depend on the choices and actions of its own people. The challenges facing the country are significant, but so too are the opportunities for positive change and transformation. By learning from the lessons of its past, by building on its strengths and resilience, and by working together across sectarian and political divides, Lebanon can chart a new course towards a more peaceful, prosperous, and inclusive future. As we conclude our exploration of Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we are reminded of the enduring importance of understanding and engaging with this complex and fascinating country. Through its triumphs and its struggles, Lebanon has much to teach us about the human capacity for resilience, creativity, and hope in the face of adversity. By shedding light on Lebanon's history, its present challenges, and its future prospects, this book invites us to look beyond the headlines and the stereotypes and to see the country and its people in all their richness and diversity. It is an invitation to be part of a conversation about Lebanon and the wider Middle East that is grounded in empathy, understanding, and a shared commitment to building a better future for all. As we come to the end of our journey through the pages of Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we have seen how this small but complex country has played an outsized role in shaping the geopolitical landscape of the region. From the civil war that tore the country apart to the rise of Hezbollah as a powerful military and political force, From the impact of regional rivalries to the ongoing struggle for reform and change, Lebanon's story is one that is both deeply rooted in the past and profoundly relevant to the present. Through the lens of this book, we have gained a deeper understanding of the historical, social, and political factors that have made Lebanon such a pivotal player in the Middle East. We have seen how the country's sectarian divisions, its strategic location, and its vulnerability to external interference have all contributed to its ongoing challenges and its enduring resilience. But we have also seen how Lebanon's story is ultimately one of hope and possibility. Despite the many obstacles and setbacks it has faced, Lebanon has never lost its spirit of creativity, diversity, and entrepreneurship. From the vibrant streets of Beirut to the rugged beauty of its mountains and coastline, Lebanon is a country that has always found ways to adapt, innovate, and thrive in the face of adversity. As we look to the future, it is clear that Lebanon will continue to play a crucial role in the ongoing story of the Middle East. As the region grapples with the challenges of conflict, instability, and change, Lebanon's experience and perspective will be more important than ever in shaping the course of events and the search for lasting solutions. But Lebanon's story is not just one for policymakers and experts to ponder. It is a story that speaks to all of us as human beings, as citizens of an interconnected world where the fate of one country is inextricably linked to the fate of us all. By engaging with Lebanon's story, by seeking to understand its complexities and its humanity, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the common challenges and aspirations that unite us across borders and boundaries. So let us take the lessons and insights of this book with us as we continue on our own journeys of discovery and understanding. Let us be inspired by the resilience and creativity of the Lebanese people, and let us work together to build a future where all people, regardless of their background or beliefs, can live in dignity, peace, and prosperity. As we close this chapter on Lebanon, the breeding ground for Middle East hostilities, we do so with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. We have seen the power of knowledge and understanding to bridge divides and illuminate the path forward. We have seen the importance of empathy and solidarity in the face of shared challenges and common dreams. And so, we invite you to join us in this ongoing conversation about Lebanon and the wider Middle East. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest insights and analysis, and to be part of a growing community of people who are passionate about building a better future for all. Together, we can continue to learn from Lebanon's story and to work towards a world where the breeding grounds of hostility give way to the fertile soil of peace, understanding, and cooperation. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to continuing the conversation with you in the days and years ahead.